Hello, welcome back to my channel. That's Sonita. It's Independence Day. I hope everyone has a safe and enjoyable day. Today I am working on making a sliced jelly roll rug. Um, this is for my niece and sister-in-law, and I hope that they're going to enjoy it. And I thought I'd bring you along for the ride. So you can get the pattern from Shabby Fabrics. It's a free pattern that you can download, but it comes in 10 pages. And you have to tape all these pages together and then use that as your template. And I did that and I put it on a foam board like the kind you have in a kid's science fair, the 3-part foam board. And I cut off the sides and I used the middle piece as my template. Sorry for the glare. I'm not very good at cameraman, so this is what we got. Again, I just used the foam board you can get like at Walmart is where I got it. And it's the science fair, the 3-part that has like the middle section that has the 2 foldy sides. I cut the 2 sides off. Then I used the middle as this template and taped down traced it down onto the template down onto the foam board. Then I cut it all out and then I taped everything down so that way no matter what this template will stay good. Like if I spill something on it, it's got tape all around it so it stays protected. You can see you also need batting strips, which is what those 2 white rolls are. And then the one in the middle is called Eternal Blue, and those are the colors we'll be using for this rug. It's going to be stunning. For a closer view, bear with me. I'm not a very good cameraman. You can see on this template, it's actually going to be 29 strips is what I need. Very top strip number 1, 2, 3, all the way down. And the one in the middle where it says the 33 inches, that is how long you want your first rope to be, because we're essentially turning these jelly roll strips into ropes. And you have batting in between each one of them, so it'll be nice and poofy and soft. And row 1 will be 33 inches, row 2, 3, I think the first 10 rows are 33 inches. Then it starts to drop down in size to 32 inches and 31 and 30, 29, all the way down. The last row 29, is only going to be 14 inches long. First thing we need to do, you need to make all these ropes and you need to make sure that they are that long because that's how long it's going to be to fill up this template. That's your first step, is getting all the ropes made and laid out the way you want them and lengthwise. And then the next step is to start sewing together. So let me get set up with the camera over here to show you how to make these ropes and we'll go from there. Okay. One thing you need to remember is when you're doing a jelly roll rug, no matter if it's a slice or a round or an oval or square, whatever you're doing, you need a bunch of bobbins. So I got a bunch of white bobbins threaded up here because you do go through a lot of thread with jelly roll rugs. And this is your jelly roll. I'm unrolling it now. First time seeing it. Should be lots of neat colors of blue. Darks and lights and whites, whitish with blues. Oh, that's a cool one. Some deeper blues. Oh, this one's kind of cool. Leaves in it. Now this jelly roll rug comes with 40 strips and we only need 29. I typically just take them off the spool the way they are because they're very color coordinated. And since we only need 29 out of the 40 strips that's on here, obviously we have extra. And you need 2 strips to use as your binding. So I need to make sure I save whatever color I want for the binding on this, which I want it to be a darker color for the binding. I think we'll just say the very last two strips because the very last two strips are actually kind of pretty. Darker blue with some medium blues in it. We'll save those two strips to use as the binding. And you don't bind the whole rug. The very top of the slice, the very top, it's very across the top there, that is, it already has the way you lay your piece down, it shows the folded end rather than an open end, and that already looks like binding. So what you're binding is the bottom or all the way around the oval part of there. That's what you're binding. That's why you only need two strips. Um, Again, since we only need 29, or actually 31, I can get rid of 9 of these colors, but I'm going to do as I usually do and just take one strip at a time directly off the rug or off the roll the way it comes, because that's what I've always done. Because they're, like I said, they're color coordinated way better than I could ever do anyways. And what I want to do is I keep my board here handy. I've got a TV tray right up here beside me. I'll try not to make you dizzy here, but you can see the TV tray. And I've got it laid out, which is telling me the top row, top 10 rows are 33 inches. And I'm going to make one of them at a time. And I'm going to go by this template. First one's 33 inches. So I'm going to cut my strip at 33 inches and my batting at 33 inches. Actually, a little bit extra because I like a little extra room. I'll make it a little bit longer. And actually, this template gives you extra room past the 33, so it has a little bit of forgivance, but I like a little bit extra forgivance. And I'm going to lay them all out one at a time on this template. When I get all of them done, then I'm going to start sewing them together. So step one is getting them made at the length it needs to be and laying it out on this template so that you don't lose track of which one goes where. Okay. So on my table here, I have a tape measure taped down on here, and I use it all the time. I don't even know where I got the idea from, but it's been that way for a couple years. And that's what I'm using to measure these strips. First one needs to be 33 inches, so I'm going to measure it up on here and I have a little extra off the end here to take care of that selvage, so that won't be in part of the pattern. And I'm going to cut this off at 34. Or a little more. Now I need my batting, and this comes on a roll. The whole thing is all one piece. And I'm going to lay this piece down here. I should have done that to begin with. Take me a little bit to get myself dialed in here. But you want this to be the same length. So going forward, I'm going to lay them both down at the same time and measure them up to the extra. Like that. Okay. Just want to line them up as good as you can get them. The raw edges here will be tucked in, so you won't see that, but you still want to keep it as neat as you can possibly get it. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this selvage end off here. Okay. Now, this is a tube maker. It makes your life a lot easier. It's going to take this strip, which is straight right now, and turn it into the tube that we need. It comes apart. Into two pieces. You need to feed this jelly roll. See how it's got a hole on that end and obviously on that end? You just kind of want to start pushing it through and out the end. Kind of maneuver it so it is like in half, and I'll show you that in a second so they get that there, like that. And I got it coming off there basically in half, like that. You take this piece that was in it before, push it down in there to hold that in place. Get this right. Takes a little bit for me to get started on this. There we go. What it is there's little grooves in there. I had to get it into grooves. Once you get in that groove, when you pull it out now, it's going to be a constant shape that you need. Then this other piece, also a two-piecer, comes apart, and you do the same thing. Now you put this one is already pre-folded in there like that. Comes out that end. Get it going here. Again, put this in the grooves in there. Now when it comes out of this tube, it pre-folds it into the smaller size that you need. And you have your edges right there. And I'm going to put this into my presser foot with those edges facing the needle and sew this down. And this is what's making my rope. Yeah, it's folded like 4 times. And then you just keep on feeding this down. For this part here, it's just a straight stitch. And I've got my 1/4 inch presser foot on. And since it's all folded in half, it will catch all those edges. But I am going to move my stitch length up to a 3. Back tack so it doesn't fall apart on me. Okay. Then you just keep on maneuvering it through these little jelly roll tube makers. It's close. I just keep pulling these back like this, and it keeps that shape for me. And you just try to keep them evenly lined up. The nicer you do that, the nicer your rug is going to be. Okay. 1 down, 28 to go. And that's what she looks like. And you can see the 2 folded edges there. And then this is a solid edge. Now on the top of my rug, when I first start this will be on the outside, which is why it will look like it's already binded. And the next strip will be lined up next to this. So, I mean, on the edges here, it'll already be nice and smooth like a binding would be anyways. And this will be at the bottom of the rug when you get to the end, so it will not look like it's binded, which is why on all the edges and the very bottom rounded edge, the oval part will need binded. And all I do is lay this down on my template as strip number 1. And I just keep going down. Actually, I'm going to take a clip here, 2 of them, keep them from falling off. That's just a nice firm piece of cardboard. I already know that it's something easy to grab onto too. And this is what I've done. I've clipped it to the top. Now the rest of them I'm just going to lay down. This is row number 1. I just keep going down. First 10 rows, or 33 inches. When I get to row 11, I have to make sure it's 32 and just keep going all the way down until I get all those done. And I'm going to go ahead and get some more of these. Actually, I'm going to set the camera up on the next strip so you can be a closer view of the actual sewing part of this. And I'll bring you back for that. And then I'm going to finish the rest of the rolls. I might bring you back here and there to show you what it's looking like. But let me get set up here and I'll bring you right back. Okay, guys, got my next strip ready to stick in this tube and poke it out the end. Get it lined up about half and half. Bring this other piece in, fit it into those top grooves so it snugly holds it. Get that going. Get my next piece ready. Stick that through. Pull it out the end there. Takes a little bit of finagling to get this started, but once you do, it's really so very handy. Although it doesn't seem like it, it does make the process go much faster. Back tack. Okay. Pull my tube makers down. Getting close to the end here. Ready. Get my tube makers off. Hold this down. Just back tack. Okay. Strip number 2 done. Looks pretty good. Okay, let me finish getting more of these tubes done. I'll give you a few shots in between of what my template's looking like as I get these ropes done. Okay, guys. So what I'm doing is I've clipped 3 bigger clips to my board, which was strip 1. And I've got 3 more done. And all I'm doing is I'm kind of holding them together somewhat, just temporarily, with a pin, straight pin. And I'm just going to keep them all lined up and going on down the road. Now I know I've got 4 strips done, so I'm on row number 5, it's still telling me 33 inches clear down to row 10, then 11, I got to go to 32 inches. And I'm just going to kind of keep them grouped together as best as I can with a safety pin until I get clear down to the bottom. Then I'll begin sewing the rows together. So there's where I'm at so far. Hello, here's a progress shot. I have 8 rows done, so I'm getting ready to start row 9. I've got 2 more rows of size 33 inch, and then I start to drop down. And that's how far I am. Look how pretty those blues are looking. The next color is that one. It's be a little bit lighter than that one. It's going to be such a beautiful blue rug. Okay, see you later. Okay guys, there's a progress shot. We are getting ready to get down to row 17. We're definitely halfway there, but look at all those gorgeous colors. And there's going back to like a medium blue and going back down into the darks again. Nice. Pretty sure the gal getting this is gonna love these colors. Okay guys, here's just a small clip of what it looks like going through the machine for those that's wanting to make this rug and needing a better view. I won't be able to keep this view very long because the camera's directly in front of me and that's the best angle I can get. And then as you get close to your machine, you just pull these back. It forms the tube as it coming out of the tube maker. And you just keep right on a sewing. These tube makers are cheap. I got it from Amazon. I will find the link and paste it in the description. I just keep tucking that end in just to make sure both edges are caught in my seam allowance there. Getting close to the end here, and then I'll let you go until I bring you back in. Just kind of tuck those ends in just before you get to the very end. Hold them all in there. Back tack, beginning and end. And that's it for that row. Okay guys, I got all 29 strips sewed together. There's a view of the way the color scheme goes on this rug. And you can't see my template anymore because we're at the very bottom there. I did want to make a note that when you are laying these out, make sure that you put your strips all the same direction. I put it to where the folded ends that you're sewing together are all facing me. And the very beginning of the rug, so you don't have to have binding, that's got the single fold, not the double ended fold. And you want to keep your rows all the same way, so every single one of mine is going the exact same direction. Next step is to start sewing them strips together. So I will get set up over here at my sewing machine and begin starting to sew them together, and I'll bring you back when I get it all dialed in. Okay guys, I got myself set up here. We're going to be doing zigzag stitches, and I like to keep myself a little cheat sheet of the numbers that I like to use for the zigzag on these jelly roll rugs. And I'm setting my machine at the length at 5.8. And every machine is going to be different. This is just my settings on my machine that I like, that work good. So it's 5.8 on the length and the 1.8 on the width. And also, when I first started doing jelly roll rugs, I learned how to do them from Lisa Capon, from Lisa Capon Quilts, a friend of mine that has helped me tremendously over the years. And no matter what I did, this Juki does not like zigzag stitches at all. I was ready to pull my hair out. I tried so many different settings, so many different angles, so many different, I think this is the needle that I wound up getting to work for me. It was my third type of needle, different needle than what I had, and I ordered hoping that it would work. And I wound up calling our local quilting store, asking them for advice, because they're the ones that also repair my machine when it needs repairing, or just tuned up, cleaned up. And she said, before you go any farther with, bringing it in for us, to work on it, why don't you try using a purple tip needle? I thought, well, I've already used all the needles I have here at home, and I bought 2 other needles and they didn't work. I thought, well, it's cheaper to do that versus getting it taken in to be worked on, because that's, that's going to be at least a $80 trip plus gas. And so I bought Janome purple tip, I'm trying to get the thing there, purple tip needles, and lo and behold, like magic, my Juki loves the purple tip needles, and I do not have any missed stitches with zigzag. Before, when I do 2 or 3 stitches and it'd skip a stitch, 2 or 3 stitches and it'd skip a stitch, or skip a couple, 2 or 3 stitches. It just was all the way through with constantly skipping stitches. It was terrible, and it was very frustrating and upsetting, because I so badly wanted to make a rug, but my machine was not cooperating with me. And then I even tried a baby lock machine, and that wasn't working either. But then it struggles on lots of things too, so I don't use the baby lock very often. I do use it for embroidering, but it's not very often I use it, because I just prefer the Juki over the baby lock. So if you have trouble and you've tried everything underneath the sun and it's not working, maybe try a Janome purple tip needle. I got them off of Amazon. I will find a link for that as well. And I keep these babies on hand now, and I just put a fresh one in because I've been doing a lot of sewing. I wanted a brand new sharp needle to go for this rug before I started, because it's, it's a special rug for my niece and sister-in-law, so I want to make sure it's got the best advantage with the best needle. So yeah, if you're trying to make this and you're about ready to give up, this is what I got, is Janome purple tip needles in a size 1490. I don't know if they come in different sizes or not, but whenever I looked up purple tip needles, it was Janome, and that's the size that I tried, and they're like magic now. So yeah, give that a try. All you're going to do, I've got these little clips to hold it together for now, my 2 pieces. The smooth single fold is on the outside. The double fold, where we've sewed it together in there, those 2 pieces there, that's facing towards my needles. And the same way with the next strip. I just keep on lining them all the same way. The open fold ends is the ones facing the machine towards the needle. You want to put your strips in the machine underneath the presser foot, directly in the middle of your presser foot, and just start sewing. Make sure you back tack. Let me get this a little farther along, then I'll show you what the stitches are looking like. Okay. Can you see the stitches? Not very well. Let me get down to a little farther on this row, if not even just complete the row, and I'll show you. It's really pretty stitches. The zigzag stitch, which is done in white thread against these blues, really looks super cool. And since I'm using my purple tip needle, there are absolutely 0 skipped stitches. It is just sewing beautifully. I was ready to pick my Juki up and throw it out the window before I figured out that I needed a purple tip needle. It was driving me crazy. And now, this will be my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th rug. And I think Lisa from Lisa Cape and Quills created a monster, because I really love making jelly roll rugs. I love them. The thing is, they are slippery. You will need to find some kind of non-slip rug grippers to put on them. I've tried a few of them. I wasn't overly happy with them, and my husband found something, I believe, on Amazon. If I can, I'll double check that, and if it is on Amazon, I'll get a link for you. Oh, and my thread just broke. I'll get a link for you and show you what it is. I'll be back. Okay, sorry, I'm back. My thread broke because my speed was probably too high and it was getting a little crazy on me, so turn my speed down. I'm just about at the end, and I'll show you what the stitches are looking like. Okay guys, at the end, and there's all the pretty stitches. See how awesome those zigzags look against that blue when the thread's done in white? That's very pretty. Okay, so we got rows 1 and 2 done, and we know where it's at. I don't have to worry about where I left off at, because I'm always going to put the open ends are going to be where I put my next strip. I'm going to pull that one out of here, line it up with this. And I just use little clips to hold it down. And considering the first 10 rows are 33 inches, I don't have to worry so much about where I'm lining them up at, because they all need to be the same anyways. Since they're all the same length, I just try to line them up end for end. When I get past the first 10 strips, then I need to lay this against the template that I have here to make sure I'm in line, because the template's going to get smaller and smaller, so I won't be starting on the end. My strips will also be coming in too, so I need to make sure I lay it down on the template to make sure that I'm getting them all where they need to be, so when I cut the rug, the excess off, they'll all be where they need to be. So I'm going to sew down a few more strips, and I'll let you come back and see where I'm at, and I'll try to get a better angle the next time, and so you can see how I'm zigzagging. But let me get a few more rows on first. Okay guys, surely you can see this. Get this camera angle better. There's the 2 rows. I've got it directly in the middle of my presser foot, so you're holding them together, and then you're zigzagging to keep them all together. Let me change the camera angle here just a second. Okay, we'll try this angle for a few minutes here, but again, it is directly in my way, and my other tripod broke, so I've got on a little one that's like you can adjust the legs, and it's not as easy to work with on close-up angles, but we'll see what we can do here. You're just keeping the two where they're coming together going directly through the middle. Hopefully this camera's not shaking too much for you. I mean, unfortunately it's attached directly to the desk or sewing table. And that's what you're doing. You're just keeping both rows together and zigzagging away. And like I said, my Juki is set at 5.8 and 1.8 on a zigzag stitch, and that's what I'm doing to sew all these rows together. And you literally just keep pulling one for one for one. My first 10 rows, which I'm on number 5 right now, I'm still on the 33-inch here lengthwise. When I get past row 10 and it starts dropping down to 32 inches, that's when I got to start being careful and to make sure that I've got the rope laying exactly where it needs to be, so that when I'm all done, I go to trim this all the way out, because you use this pattern piece that I've got on a foam board. You lay that directly on top of the rug and use a heat erasable marker and trace all the way around it for your cutting line. And then once you've got your line traced on there, you do the cutting, and then you're done, with the exception of putting your binding on. So let me get a little farther in the process here and we'll bring you back. Okay guys, I have my first 10 rows done, and this is what that looks like. And right there's row 10. As you can see, I just got to keep it as long as these ends here are hanging off of the template, then we're good, because that's what it needs to be. Because the template's going to lay on top of the rug when I'm all done, and I'm going to take a heat erasable marker, and trace all the way around that template. So as long as the ends are off the template, we're good. Let's say this is row 10, which is right there, and I've got plenty of clearance on both ends. It's hanging off the edge, so we're doing good. Now that I am on row 10 and they start to drop down on how big they are, I had to make sure of where I'm entering the next couple rows that it will be within the template, so I don't get it off center, in other words. So my next 2 rows, actually the next 3 rows, are 32 inches. So I'm going to take all 3 of them and do them together, because I know they have to all line up the same place on this rug. And over here on this end, let me turn the camera. Over here on this end, you see how they're all hanging off that template. So as long as I'm right there, they'll be good. And on this side, they're also hanging off the template, so we're good on there. So that's what I need to do, is each row just make sure they're lining up there and I'm within range of where I need to be, so when I lay the template down, I'll have enough length on my strips to get their template marked down. So that's where I'm at with that. I will bring you back a little bit later. Okay guys, so I'm on rows 12 and 13, and since they're the same length, I'm going to sew these 2 together by themselves. Then I'm going to attach it to my piece that I already have going. So you can also do that, so line up each one. I know they're the same length and they have to match each other, so I'm going to sew those 2 together. Then I'll figure out where they got to go on my main piece and attach it them at the same time. Let's see if I can get a better angle here for you. Okay, let me finish sewing this strip together and I'll attach it to the big one. I'll bring it back. Okay guys, I got rows 12 and 13 sewed together as their own separate unit. Then I brought it over here to my template, and as you can see, this is row 13 right there, which is my two-piece strip here, 12 and 13. And I just made sure that it's hanging off on this edge, so I know I'm good. And it's also hanging off on this edge, so I know I'm good. And that's all you gotta do, is just keep lining them up on your template until you get all the way down to row 14. And I'll bring you back a little later. Okay, back again. So I'm getting ready to start row 14, which is right there. And I decided to just make it even easier, and I moved the rest of my pieces off to the side over here. They are all pinned together, so I know which row belongs where. And I'm just going to bring row by row over, line it up on this template so I know where it needs to go next in line with the row previous. I'm going to pin it from there and then bring it over the sewing machine, so that way it's a little bit easier to get them lined up that way. So that's how I'm going to handle getting the rest of them done. When I get all of the rows sewed together all the way down to row 29, I'll bring you back and show you the next step. Getting close, guys. I'm getting ready to put on row 26. So we got 4 more rows. Actually, this is let's see, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 more rows to go. I have attached row 25. I got to take it to the machine and sew it down yet, as you can see why I got the pins in there. Then after that, I got 4 more rows to go. It's getting close. Look at the stack that's left versus what all's on there. It's looking beautiful. See you soon. Okay guys, I'm back. I've got all of the strips sewed together. And now I'm getting ready to, you see there's room on all around the oval part of this, which is what I was after, to make sure the strips extended beyond my template. Now I'm going to take some of these longer having trouble finding the cameras in front of me, and so it's a little backwards. These longer clips, and I'm going to clip this down right at the edge here. So that it stays in place while I do a trace around with my heat erasable pen, so that when I'm all done with the tracing and cutting, I can use my iron to get the mark back off again. Let's get a couple more clips so this will not move on me. One and two. Okay. Now all I have to do is I have a heat erasable pen. It's a Frixion marking pen. You can get them off of Amazon. I'll see if I can't find a link. And all I'm going to do is trace a line against my template. A little more difficult on the darker parts, so I have to do extra lines. And you can also use chalk if you want. This is just handier. I might, on the darker parts, go ahead and, before I take the template off, I might take the chalk and go around just to make sure I can see where to cut at, because after this all I'm going to do is take my scissors and cut on the trace line to get my slice shape. Yeah, I am going to use a piece of chalk around the dark bluer parts just to make sure I can see it good. Oh yeah, now on the dark parts I'll be able to easily see the trace line. Now I'm just going to use a good pair of fabric scissors and cut this excess ropes past the template off, and I'll bring you back. Just so you can see, there's my trace line before I start to cut it away. You'll see it goes all the way around the slice rug. And then I'm just going to use my scissors and cut all the excess away. And there is the slice rug. Now all I need to do is make the binding and apply it. As soon as I get it set up around my sewing machine, I'll bring you back for that part as well. And it's almost done. I hope you're loving this, Marla and Connie. Okay guys, we are on the home stretch. I've got my binding made. It literally, as I showed you in the beginning, was 2 pieces. I put pretty sides together, sewed a 1/4 inch seam, and then I ironed it, folded it in half. Let me unfold this for you. Fold it in half to get the center crease line. Then folded each end in to that crease line. Then folded it like that so that all raw edges are hidden on the inside. And on the very end here, I've got little snips out on the end and folded down, because at the top of this rug, this needs to be folded down so that there's no raw edge on the end as well. So that's why I said I literally just folded the end down like that, and then since the ends were sticking out a little bit, I just trimmed it up a little bit so that a little less was showing up at the end. You line it directly up, because in this type of binding you're only going around once, rather than sewing it down, then flipping the binding over and sewing it again. On this here, you will be sewing one time on the front, and it's going to go through to both sides. Saves you a little bit of time. See how there's no raw edges showing on this other side. It's a little finicky to get it started. And in this case, you want to use clips to hold everything down and make it behave for you. You could use bias binding on this, but since I'm using a jelly roll strip, there isn't bias binding. I could use separate colors, but I want all of this to match. And it's not that big of a curve that you can't work with it. So I'm going to continue going around the edge here, putting half on bottom, half on top, clipping it. This is hard to do with the camera in front of me. It's really not this difficult. I'm making it look more difficult than what it is because I'm trying to get it in the camera. So let me do this off camera and I'll bring you back and show you. But like I said, I showed you how to do the binding. Half of it's on the bottom, then the other half's on top. So that middle center crease is going to go all around the outside of the edge of the rug. And just clip it all down, and I'll bring you back. I just wanted to bring you back real quick. I was trying to fold this over first and then put it on the rug, but what you really want to do is lay your rug down on it first and then fold it over, so that you're not only covering this raw edge up here, you're also covering this raw edge up here. So you want to actually let it extend along maybe like an inch and a half past the rug, then fold it down onto itself, and then tuck it in so that both sides are covered and the top, and there is no raw edges showing at this point. So that's how you want to approach that. Okay guys, I'm at the other end of the rug. I just want to show you, I'm going to go past maybe like an inch and a half, cut that off, see past that, fold it down onto itself and tuck it in. Get that clip out of the way, fold it down on top of itself, then tuck it in so there are no raw edges here, raw edges here or there. Let me get one more clip here. I'll hold that baby down. Okay, it's all clipped on, and I am ready to sew it down. All I'm going to do is use a zigzag stitch all the way around. I am switching to a darker thread. I will get this underneath the machine here and get a different camera angle going for you and let you watch the last bit of zigzagging all the way around. I'll be right back. It's the last final stretch. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm doing a zigzag, same numbers as before, 5.8 and 1.8. My battery is low because I decided to tape this all day long because I was too excited to turn it into 2 settings. So I'm only going to be able to show you a little bit of this, and I'll be back. All I'm doing is, and I'll show you in a close up here in a minute. Okay, so this is what I do. My zigzag stitch is just from like the edge of this over into here, because I'm doing a 5.8 and a 1.8 because I want it to catch here and on the back. So that's all I'm going to do is do that stitch all the way around. Just follow your rug all the way around, and I'll see you at the end. Okay guys, we are all done. She's not perfect, but neither am I, so I think she still turned out pretty good though. And I did do this in one session instead of 2 because once I get started, it's really hard for me to stop. I just get so excited, I just can't seem to stop. So, again, she's not perfect. That's not the best binding job, but she was giving me a little bit of fits too. So, but it still turned out good. It's all sealed in, which is good for zigzag. I mean, it's all down. It's not going anywhere. So I hope that the recipients will love this as much as what I hope they will. My husband, his favorite color is blue as well, and he just fell in love with it. So fingers crossed, so will Marla and Connie. Thank you for joining me. I will see you in the next video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.